Here is the block we'll be making today. I thought it was time for another star. We only have one star in the block, in the quilt so far. So we're using Accuquilt 10-inch Qube Set. Here is the block, and it is simply called 4-patch star. 4-patch star. If you're wondering where these patterns are coming from, when you buy a Qube set, you also get this book with a bunch of patterns in it and instructions. Alright, let me show you how I will lay this star out, and then we'll get started on it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is lay out my little 4-patch in the center. So blues. By the way, these are some of those little extra prints that I was telling you about that I found. So these little squares are 3 inches. Easy to cut out with your rulers, just 3 inches. So we have 2 different colors of darks. And then we will have 2 each of those. And then we will have 4 of the light backgrounds, which will go in the corner. And all 4 corners, I mean. Alright, so all of these are 3 inches, or number 2 in the Qube set. Number 2 in the Qube set. The next thing are our quarter square triangles, which we've been using. And like I told you before, if you want to cut these with your ruler, you don't have Accuquilt, you will need to take a, let me double check myself, a 4.5 inch square, and then just cut it in half diagonally. You'll have the little points on it, and you can trim those off if you like, but that's what it takes to make these quarter square triangles. So you'll have one on each side, and the little point goes toward that middle seam on your 4-patch. Okay, now all we have to do is fill in with our number 5 star points. So I tried to cut half of these out, fussy cut a little face of the snowman on at least half of these. Thought that would be pretty cute going around the star points. So I'll put one of these on each side that has the little snowman face. In this case, I'm putting them to my left as I'm looking at the star. You can do them any way you want. So I've got one little face on each one. And now I just fill in with all these smaller pieces. I didn't have enough snowman faces to do 2 blocks worth. I had enough to do 1 block worth, but not 2. I'm getting to the end of my snowman fabric. Can you tell? Okay, and here's my parts and pieces for my block all laid out. This is the 4-patch star. So now we'll start putting these together. Alright, I'll go with the 4-patch first. Quarter-inch seams. I'll just chain piece those. Now, when I made this one, I made it just exactly like the pattern in the Accuquilt book tells me to do it. So I laid all of my seams over to the side. I twirled it, that one in the middle, and then I did all of them over to the side. But I had a little bit of trouble, just a little bit, with the bulky seams, and also my star points. Some of my star points got a little bit close to the edge there. So I'm thinking I'm going to open my seams this time and experiment a little bit. See how it goes. All right, so I'm going to open these seams up and press them before I put them together. Like I've said in all the videos, this is totally your choice. You may have perfect seams when you take all of yours over to the side. Sometimes mine work out and sometimes they don't. That's one of the reasons why I make a sample block, so that I can find the best way. Now, I will use those sample blocks in my quilt, and I think I can work around those close little points. But I just want to try it this way, kind of experiment and see if it makes it a little bit easier to work with. Now, since I opened these seams, I will have to open the middle seam as well. I can't twirl that. So let me do that. Oh, that feels nice. Nice flat seam there. Okay, so now we're ready to start making our star points. So we'll just sew, I'm going to sew the little faces on to the, what I'm making here is a flying geese unit. Okay, so I'm not having to do all that stitching and flipping and all of that you do. We do stitch and flip, but we're not having to trim anything off or anything like that. So I'm just going to go around and do all the ones with the little face first. I'm just lining up those little blunt ends, and of course the edges as well. Okay, now on these, I think that I'm going to go ahead and open these up too. All right, now I'll just go ahead and put my other star point on. Make sure it's lined up on the top and bottom. Now this would work out, I think this would work out fine if you went ahead and pressed this one to the side, since that one's open already. So press that one to the side. It should be fine. We've got our good 1/4 inch there for our point. So it's the first seam I opened and the second seam to the side. that looks really good. So I hope the rest of them come out that good. Okay, those all look really good. On this one, I've got just a little bit sticking out on the top that I'm going to trim off right there. But I still have my 1/4 inch. Okay. Now we're going to put I'm going to put the middle portion together first, lining up that middle seam. And I think I'm going to do like I showed you in the last video, I'm going to put a pin right through the very tip of that star point, and then I'm going to come down 1/4 inch on my seam, right in the middle of my seam. And line those up, and then I'll just bring my pin down and pin that. Now it looks like it's sticking out a little bit on one end on this, but I'm not going to worry about that. I might have got that seam a little tiny bit larger. But the main thing is I want to make sure that I don't go over the tip of that point. Okay, it looks like it's going to be okay. Maybe missed it just a teeny tiny bit, but I think it'll be fine. Now, I think, should I open that seam up or should I leave it? I think I'm going to press it towards the center. I'm going to try pressing it towards the center because we've only got an opened up flat seam there to worry about. And for some reason, I don't know if I made a seam too small or what, but I've got just a little bit sticking out on this edge. I'm going to trim that off. No reason not to. Because I have to make my my sides line up, the top and bottom I should say. Now the next thing is to sew the corners onto the center, top and bottom. Oh yeah, I've got a nice 1/4 inch at the edges of those star points. Now I will press these also to the sides because there are no seams over here. So let me back up and say I'm pressing some of my seams open, but not all. Okay, now we are back to matching up star points. So we're getting close to having this done. I want to have it finished before Christmas. Y'all have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you next time.